Good morning.
Good morning.
Reverend Dr. Suzi Schadle, and I welcome you to Center for Spiritual Living, Suncoast, other way around. Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon writes this: when you have discovered and acted upon your true values, life becomes more fulfilling, easier, and more abundant. Your choices and decisions come easier and with greater determination and passion. And we can more easily vision and focus on a life that supports and sustains not only us, but all who we are in contact with. To live one's life committed to clear and serving values infects the world around us and strengthens our own self-acceptance because we are actually in integrity with who we were meant to be. There's no more comfortable spa than that one, my friends, to be comfortable with who you have come here to be. And when we stand in that integrity of authenticity, standing on the values we hold dear, the whole world takes notice. Centers for Spiritual Living had a theme in 2016, and all of our centers embraced and embodied that theme, and that theme was creating a world that works for everyone. And in 2017, we also have a theme for Centers for Spiritual Living that all of our centers are embracing. And it's a way, it's kind of the how-to of creating a world that works for everyone. And so the theme this year in 2017 is values-based spiritual living. Values-based spiritual living. I can't think of anywhere in life, any aspect of life where that wouldn't be useful. To live a values-based life that becomes about spiritual living, the principles that we teach, and that we work to live by, that change our lives and make our lives what they truly are capable of being. And it models that same possibility for everyone around us. So we're going to take some time this year to explore the values that we have agreed upon as a collective body in Centers for Spiritual Living, as well as the values that we've collectively agreed upon here at Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living. So we're going to take a look at those. We look at them every week here, the Suncoast values, because we've created affirmations out of each of those values so that we keep them alive and keep them present to us. So we're going to explore those more clearly, define them, articulate them, and live them. To live the things that we hold dear. I mean, it just makes sense, right? I mean, why would you live opposite of what you hold dear in your heart? And you know what? There's a huge part of the population that does exactly that. They live opposite of what they say they hold dear. So one of those two things is off. One of those two things is off. Either they're not clear what they hold dear, or they're not paying attention to it and living lives that look different. You know, so you know what it reminds me of? You know, if you look in the mirror, if you have a decent mirror, you get a pretty good reflection of who you're looking at, right? You get a pretty good reflection. I mean, it looks like you. Except if you go to the circus, which you probably better hurry up because they're closing in May. So if you're gonna go to the circus, you gotta do it in a hurry. But you remember those wacko mirrors that they have at the circus, and then you don't look like a true reflection of what you are. So that's what happens when our values are kind of unclear or ill-defined, and they're kind of messed up, and they're not in alignment and integrity with who we truly are and what we really hold dear. Then we get that funky-looking reflection in the mirror. So something's got to change, something's got to shift if things are going to be congruent. And values are very important. They're foundational to life. They're important because they're enduring beliefs and ideals that we hold to be true and good and desirable. You know, so they undergird everything that we think, say, and do. They are the foundation upon which we build everything else. And so defining and establishing our core values is the first step in awakening to the possibility that life can bring. And then, it's not enough to just clarify and to establish them, but we must embrace them, we must embody them, we must articulate them, we must live them, or they remain words on a page. If they don't live through us, they don't live, period. And then we're wasting paper and ink, right? And we don't want to do that. I mean, we don't mind messing up our lives, but we don't want to waste paper and ink, right? No. We don't want to mess up anything. So it's important that we commit to our values once we've clarified and defined and embraced them and committed to living them. We must commit to those values as a guide for our lives. They become a guidepost. They become almost like a GPS to keep us on track, to get us where we say we want to be going. And they are the map. They are the map to get there. So, values are they're like little beacons along the way that call us forth and sustain us and guide us and support us in the fulfillment of our authentic being. To experience any kind of radical transformation to who we truly are and to become fully self-actualized, we must be clear what we stand for. I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said, if we don't stand for something, we will fall for anything. So it's important that we know what we stand for, what's important to us. When we know and live by those core values and we express our authentic self, then our lives are better, and so the whole world, everything around us is better when we're being authentic and standing on values that we're clear about. Living up to our values truly enables us to be our true selves and to feel confident in it, to really own who we are. I mean, can you imagine really owning who you are and go, wow, yeah, I'd have me as a friend. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to say to yourself, gosh, I would have you as a best friend. There's a good portion of my life I couldn't say that. In fact, if I could have gotten away from me, I would have run really fast. But I don't have that anymore. Today, yeah, I look at myself in the mirror and go, good mirror, good reflection, I would have you as a friend. I invite you to do that this week. Look in the mirror, look at yourself, and say honestly, I would have you as a friend. I like what you stand for. I'm with you, I'm hanging with you. Living up to those allows us to be our true self, and our authentic self-expression then becomes the fulfillment of who we've come here to be. And then all of our doing this just comes naturally, it flows naturally. And values actually enliven the principles that we teach here in this center. And they influence and they guide our behaviors and all of our attitudes and actions. And we embody and we model and we act in accordance with those values in everything that we do. It's not like, okay, when it's easy, I'm going to stick to my values. But when it's hard, I'm going to hedge. I'm going to pretend I don't know. No. Anybody can do it when it's easy. It's about doing it when it's hard, which is why it's important to know what the values are before you're confronted with a difficult challenge. Because that's not a good time to decide what you value. You should already know that. So it's almost like you go, oh yeah, let's see, the GPS says I should turn left here. Because if I don't, there's a ditch over there. Right? So it's good to know ahead of time, before you make the turn, that you're making the right turn. Now there's a powerful legacy of our science of mind teachings, and it offers insight into this value-based spiritual living. We have an amazing and powerful legacy that was left to us by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. And there have been many who have followed him, and now we are those who have been following, and there will be others who follow us. And so we have this powerful legacy to lean into. Kathy Julien, who is the former editor of the Science of Mind magazine, wrote that over 57 years ago, in August of 1959, in a chapel set against the backdrop of the Pacific Ocean at the beautiful Asilomar Retreat Center in California. How many have been there, Asilomar? Oh my gosh. Even though we don't do our summers there anymore, you should go sometime, or at least drive through. It is absolutely gorgeous. It was designed by the same woman architect who designed the Randolph Hearst Castle.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely magnificent. Beautiful place. So anyway, against the backdrop of all of that at the Asilomar Retreat Center in California, Science of Mind founder Ernest Holmes gave the last, most inspired and memorable of his annual Sermons by the Sea, because we went there every summer for all these many years. Holmes offered a heartfelt and eloquent vision of the new world he saw evolving and of the great possibilities for the philosophy he spent his lifetime developing. It was the last time that Holmes spoke at the annual Asilomar Conference. He passed away in April of 1960. His final talk at Asilomar, The Sermon by the Sea, distills Holmes' remarkable legacy, the powerful science of mind teaching, which he called the spiritual impulsion of the 21st century. And in that final Sermon by the Sea, Holmes shared his vision for global well-being, for an earth transformed by consciousness articulated through this science of mind teaching, for a prescription for a planetary revolution, resurrection, evolution, to make this a place that we love living. And it was a prophetic assertion of the role that the science of mind teaching could play in this world's rebirth into the greater possibility. And so I want to read you a portion, at least, a pretty hefty portion actually, of his final Sermon by the Sea, because it is very empowering. It gives me goosebumps every time I read it. And I think it's particularly germane right now, particularly given this weekend and yesterday. And oh my gosh, all those people coming together yesterday in peace and power and love and oneness and asking for something good for people. And because it was a good thing, it exploded beyond the imaginings of the people who dreamed it up in the first place, and it became a worldwide event. This is powerful. I mean, I don't know of any other more tangible example of oneness on this planet than what happened yesterday. And much of it was sort of spontaneous. Somebody had an idea, a little tiny idea, and said something to another person. And then it just boom. And they thought, well, we'll have a bunch of people in Washington, D.C., and then boom. They were everywhere. How powerful is that? It's a powerful example. And I think you'll notice some things in this Sermon by the Sea that say, wow, I think that was an example of what he's talking about. Science of mind is the most direct impartation of divine wisdom that has ever come to the world, because it incorporates the precepts of Jesus and Emerson and Buddha and all the rest of the wise. Others will arise who will know more than we do. They won't be better or worse. They will be different and know more than we do. Evolution is forward. And we have rediscovered that which the great, the good, and the wise have sung about and thought about, the imprisoned splendor within ourselves and within each other. And we have direct contact with it. Whether we call it the Christ in us, or the Buddha, or Atman, or just the Son of God, the living Spirit, makes no difference. You and I are witnesses to the divine fact, and we have discovered an authority beyond our minds, even though our minds utilize it. We are a part of the evolution of human destiny. We are a part of the unfoldment of the divine intelligence in human affairs. This unfoldment has reached the point of conscious and deliberate cooperation with that principle of evolution and outpush of the creative urge of the spirit, on this planet at least, to bring about innumerable centers which it may enjoy. Man, as we now know him, is incomplete, and those vague feelings and subtle senses of interior awareness which arise within him are gentle but persistent prophecies of still greater achievements. It would be wonderful indeed if a group of persons should arrive on earth who were for something and against nothing. This would be the summum bonum of human organization, wouldn't it? Find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of his soul, and I will find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being. Find me one person who no longer has any fear of the universe or of God or of man or of anything else, and you will have brought to me someone in whose presence we may sit, and fear shall vanish as clouds before the sunlight. Find me someone who has given all that he has to love without morbidity, and I will have found the lover of my soul. Why? Because he will have revealed to me the nature of God and proved to me the possibility of all human souls. Find me one person who can get his own littleness out of the way, and he shall reveal to me the immeasurable magnitude of the universe in which I live. Find me one person who knows how to talk to God really, and I shall walk with him through the woods, and everything that seems inanimate will respond. The leaves of the trees will clap their hands, the grass will grow soft under him. Find me one person who communes with cause and effect, and in the evening star will sing to him, and the darkness will turn to light. Through him, as the woman who touched the hem of the garment of Christ was healed, shall I be healed of all loneliness forever. Find me someone who is no longer sad, whose memory has been redeemed from morbidity, and I shall hear laughter. Find me someone whose song is really celestial, because it is the outburst of the cosmic urge to sing, and I shall hear the music of the spheres. Find me one person who has so completely divorced from himself all arrogance, and you will have discovered for me an open pathway to the kingdom of God here and now. Find me someone who has detached his emotional and psychological ego from the real self without having to deny the place it plays in the scheme of things, and without slaying any part of himself, because the transcendence is there also. And I will have discovered the ineffable in this individual and a direct pathway for the communion of my own soul. I'm talking about you and myself. When I say find a person, the search is not external. These people all exist in us. They are different attributes and qualities of our own soul. They are different visions. Every one of us on that inner side of life has been and shall remain in eternal communion with the ineffable, where he may know that he is no longer with God, but one of God. If it were not for that which echoes eternally down the corridors of our own minds, some voice that ever sings in our own soul, some urge that continuously presses us forward, there would be no advance in science or religion or humanities or anything else. You are religious science. I am not. I am only the one who puts something together. I do not even take myself seriously, but I take what I do seriously. You are religious science. Our ministers, our teachers, our practitioners, our laity. You find me 1,000 people in the world who know what religious science is and use it and live it, and I'll myself live to see a new world, a new heaven, and a new earth here. There is a cosmic power wrapped up in a cosmic consciousness and purposiveness that is equal to the vision which looses it. What I am saying is this: there is a law that backs up the vision, and the law is immutable. There is a power transcendent beyond our needs, our little wants. Demonstrating a dime is good if one needs it, or healing oneself of a pain is certainly good if one has it. But beyond that, at the real feast of the tabernacle of the Almighty, in the temple of the living God, is the banquet hall of heaven. There's something beyond anything that you and I have touched. Find 1,000 people who know that and use it, and the world will no longer be famished. How important is it that each one of us, in his simple way, shall live from God, to God, with God, in God, and to each other. To each other. That is why we are here. And we are taking back with us, I trust, a vision and an inspiration, something beyond a hope and a longing, that the living Spirit shall walk us through anew into its own creation, and a new glory comes with a new dawn. Your human incarnation is the invitation to your spirituality. We are coming into divine consciousness, community, where individuals commune into unity, and where unity touches individuality and individuality touches unity. 1959, Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder. Pretty prophetic. That's the vision, that's the possibility, that's the groundwork that has been laying for us. You know, Holmes' powerful Sermon by the Sea is as vital today as it was 57 years ago, and maybe even more needed, because it's in my lifetime. You know? I mean, we're always a little more sensitive to our lifetime than we were to the past, or the one that we may not arrive at. So right now, that seems pretty important, what he's laying down for us, the challenge. He's laying down a challenge and an intention for us to pick up. You know, we're inspired to rise up to that challenge and to help bring that vision forth, to be in conscious partnership with the divine and with one another, to mainstream values-based spiritual living as a lifestyle. The lifestyle of the rich in spirit, right? I still want to do a show. Lifestyle of the rich in spirit. I love it. And it is those very things that will help us to create a world that works for everyone. A world that works for everyone. Just because that was last year's theme doesn't mean we're laying it down. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. We're getting more into the nitty-gritty now. You know, the new world that Holmes envisioned is beginning to appear. And I know that if we look at too many of the headlines or Facebook posts or things, we can think that quite the opposite. But I don't believe that that's true. I think greater possibilities are arriving for humankind to embrace right now. But we have to make choices. You know, and sometimes I believe that the old structures must break down in order for there to be breakthrough into new possibilities. Because sometimes we try to work with the old muffler that's falling off and has, you know, holes in it, and we try to patch it back together, and all it does is blow out somewhere else. So maybe we need to take that old muffler off and say, you know, thank you very much for your service, but we're done with that now. And maybe we need to put a whole brand new muffler that has a whole new concept to it. So we break down to break through. I do believe it's beginning to appear. I mean, look at how many people are bringing awareness to greater possibilities of life. Yes, we're seeing things that look negative, but we're seeing a greater response to that in the light of positive. You know, with the advent of the internet, we really are creating a global consciousness, not just the global brain, but the global heart. There is a global consciousness that is evolving and connecting us all, reminding us that we really are all one. We're all human beings. We may come from different places and look different and have different traditions, but we're all human beings. We have that in common. And why should any of us be allowed less than any one of us? Why? It makes no sense in my mind. No sense. I mean, it seems to me that if we all had all the possibilities that are available to us, that the entire human race would be on a different plane. That can only be a good thing in my mind. But I think that's beginning to appear. People are beginning to grasp that idea. The new world that Holmes envisions is one of compassion and support. And we're seeing compassion and support being extended to distant corners of the world, places we hadn't heard of before. And now we have connection with people we haven't heard of before. Look at the Arab Spring. All that was online. I mean, we could see online in the moment, things going on all across the world. We could never do that before. There is a connection here, and there are great possibilities with that connection. You know, the civil rights movement that was started in Ernest Holmes' time has expanded. It has expanded. It has expanded to gays and people of every color and every ethnicity. It's beginning to expand. It's expanded to women, and if you doubt that for 1 second, just look at anything that got posted yesterday. 3 million women and men from all over the world standing for human rights. That's the expansion of this idea of civil rights, of human rights. We are making progress towards Holmes' vision through our own grasp and application of these science of mind principles and values that we teach. You know, when Ernest Holmes told his audience at Asilmar that they are a part of the evolution of human destiny, of the unfoldment of the divine intelligence in human affairs, he set a powerful intention in motion. And that intention has been unfolding ever since. And now it's our turn to take up that gauntlet. 57 years later, Holmes' vision still speaks to us. And it will continue to speak. You know, one of the things we teach our practitioners, you know, somebody will say, well, how often do you do a spiritual mind treatment or an affirmative prayer? You know, how long do you do? Well, you pray until it's done. And you know internally when it's done. And so the same is true of this vision. We hold it in our hearts and our minds and our consciousness, and we act upon it until it is done. Until we are seeing a world that works for everyone. Until we're living in a world that we love to live in. I'm not getting any younger, but I'll tell you what, I'm not leaving until I see it. So I might have to go to one of those cryogenic places. But anyway, I'm not going anywhere until we do it. So we should just go ahead and move on, right? We should just go ahead and do it. Because I think we'd all like to see it and enjoy it, right? You know, the transformative teaching that we have to offer here, the values and the principles of science of mind are reaching across the world. We have ministries all over the world where we heal and educate and inspire and empower people. And they love this stuff. You know, we have a huge and powerful ministry in the Ukraine. A good friend of mine started that and keeps it going. And I'm telling you what, during this whole thing with the invasion of the Ukraine and the annexation of Crimea, it was people who have grasped this teaching, who are standing on principle and standing on their values and standing on hope. And they stood as a beacon to the people who were being abused in that interaction in the Ukraine. Our teaching, they don't know that it's a religious thing because they're not allowed to call it that. It's one of the reasons we became centers for spiritual living, because we couldn't be a church there. And we have ministries all over the world. Lots of ministries in Latin America, all over the world, places you've never heard of. It's incredible. We have the possibility to unite us all, to remind us all that we are one human family. One human family. Our differences are just fun. You know, the differences are not something to be pushed back and alienated from. The differences are like interesting. It's like, wow, really? You know? I mean, what if we approach, you know, kids are like that. They see something different, they go, wow, how come your hair is funky like that? Well, they don't mean it as a bad thing, it's a curiosity, right? Hey, how come your skin looks different from mine? You know, I had some little friends that, their father was black, their mother was white. And they were trying to figure out the whole thing that, you know, adults get all concerned about different skin colors and all this stuff. And so they're trying to figure it out. I'm trying to remember, how did the way they differentiated, it didn't have anything to do with the color of their skin. It had to do with the length of their hair. Their mom had long hair, so anybody with long hair was white. No matter what, you know. And anybody with short hair, because their dad had short hair, was black. Works for me. I mean, you know, whatever. You know, I mean, that's how significant the skin color was to them. It was no big. You know, it was like, but yeah, there are some differences. Let's see if we can figure this out. You know, wouldn't it be great if we could be as children and we approach things that are different just as a novelty, as an adventure, as a curiosity, as something to find out about because it's different. Not something to run from because it's different, not something to abuse because it's different, something to embrace. It's like, wow, how cool is that? I wish I had curly hair. How cool is that? Well, actually, I always wished I had long straight hair, but you know, here you have it. You know, this vision that Ernest Holmes left us has not yet been fully realized, but the vision is unfolding and progress is being made. 57 years ago, in his Sermon by the Sea, Holmes said that the teachings of the science of mind have brought a blessing to the world, the possibility of something expressing through us that has never before been given to the world. A simplicity, a sincerity, and I trust a love and understanding. A love and understanding. And so it's our time to carry forward Holmes' vision, for us to embrace it, to take it on, to be it. The ideas of the Sermon by the Sea are embraced in our current Centers for Spiritual Living vision and theme. We proclaim a world in which spiritual values and spiritual principles flourish and cause us to flourish. And we evolve Holmes' vision, and we must apply these principles and these values to today's challenges. And I guarantee you, it'll make molehills out of the mountains of challenges that we believe we face. So now we have the opportunity. The opportunity is ours if we will take up the mantle. The opportunity is ours to be a part of the blessing of this world by awakening to our passion, by discovering our purpose, by activating the path that unfolds it, and by living as the promise that is its fulfillment. That's the call. That's the opportunity. That's here for us. And that sounds more interesting than a lot of other things that are going on right now, to me. That's just me, but, you know, join in. You know, growing ourselves through value-based spiritual living, we bring about that new dawn and that new heaven and that new earth, fulfilling Holmes' inspired vision. It's a vision I can get my teeth into. And I hope you can too. And I hope you'll go along for the ride, and we'll see what unfolds for us to be and then to do out of that beingness. So blessings to all of you on your journey of value-based spiritual living. You can begin by saying yes to the idea, to the vision of creating a world that works for everyone. So it is.
Yes.